Morning everybody, Rusty from the Rusty Razor. Got another shave of the day, and today we're going to be using Master Soap Creations. I got a sample here from Chuck from over at Chuck Shaving Channel. We got Frosted Bay Rum. Kind of interesting. Smell it. It has, you can smell the Bay Rum with a hint, I think, at the mint. That's across the top here. And maybe a dash of vanilla. I think it's like mint, vanilla, and Bay Rum. So there we go. Got a little sample of it. When I lather it up, definitely smell the mint now. The mint comes to the forefront and the Bay goes towards the rear. But there is, I think, a hint of vanilla in there. So we'll see how this works out. And the razor of the day, also from Chuck, is the Schick stainless steel with a double edge from Germany with the Merkur 34C. We'll see how these two go together. And then we'll follow up with a little bit of, what is that, Master's Bay Rum. I got this from Take Care Man. So a little bit of everything was provided by everybody else. Except for the razor. That was for me. All right. So, how's your day going? Okay, we'll put this at the beginning this time. There is an affiliate link down below. If you want to click on it, it's from the razor company. If you need anything from the razor company, click on that. And I get a little bit of kickback that goes towards the giveaway. When I reach $25, I'll do a giveaway, and some lucky individual, one of the subscribers, will get it. I'll do a giveaway video whenever that happens. So we'll just see where it goes. Yep. Supposedly there's a little bit of cooling agent with this, probably from the mint. Right now I'm not feeling anything, but it's same thing. It's like the Parasol green is supposedly get cooling with it, and I was like, I don't see anything, or I don't feel anything with that one. Sometimes they're just too subtle. Maybe if you're really sensitive to cold, but I grew up in the Great White North, so I've been desensitized. Let's just put it that way. Let's see how this blade works. First time use. I had to give her a shot. I was like digging through and getting the soaps, and oh yeah, I forgot. I got all these blades. I was using the Bic chromium blades, which, yeah, pretty average. Although I was like, I'll give these a shot. One thing I did notice is that some blades, it's like you feel them and they just like really thin. You almost feel like you're gonna snap them just by manhandling them. And these Schick heavy reminds me of the old Schick blades that I had back in the day, in the 80s and 90s. You had your choice of, it was always two blades. You had Schick blades or Gillette blades. So far, it's doing a good job. It seems to be gliding right over. I'm not feeling any tugginess. So far, so good. I might be feeling just a little bit of cooling now that I got it off the vast majority is out of my face. I do kind of feel a little bit of, it's not like some of them where like you get the Sterling Glacials where it's like, whoo, yeah, I feel that when that's cold. But no, not this way. I guess if some people don't like menthol, it shouldn't bother them. grandmother used to smoke these mentholated cigarettes. And she was like, that was her thing. My grandfather, on the other hand, he would, like, oh, 4 of my grandparents smoked. My dad smoked until, I think it was 69. I remember when, back in 69, he decided to quit. It's like, he was a cranky man. Irritable. But he gave it up, and he said he was happy to give up smoking. Not my grandparents, they smoked all the way up to the end. Well, my grandmother eventually gave up because the doctor said, oh, how long do you want to live? You're going to die. Gotta give it up. But yeah, I remember my grandfather, he'd, was it Prince Edward? In a can or something like that? Whatever it was. It was, he'd buy these cans of tobacco. You'd get a tin of it, you know, a big round tin, about yay big, full of tobacco, and it always smelled good. That's one thing I always liked about the scent of tobacco is really nice. You burn it, you ruin it. That's how I always say. I always love the scent of tobacco. Tobacco, you get a tin of tobacco or pipe tobacco or cigars. Like my brother-in-law, he smokes cigars, you know, and he opens up his humidor and he's like, oh, that's nice. And then he ruins them, like burning them. And then it comes this rancid, nasty stench. I always remember my grandmother was mentholated cigarettes. And my grandfather was always rolling his own. He had this little machine. I got it someplace in the basement in one of my boxes. But it is like you put the paper in there and you put the tobacco in there and you just go and roll it right up. And he'd have it instantly roll. He'd just sit there, you know, at breakfast time. And he loved Folgers coffee, instant coffee. My grandmother was a percolated coffee person. My grandfather, on the other hand, was a Folgers instant. So he'd boil up a pot of hot water and put his teaspoon or two of some Folgers in there, put the hot water in, and he'd clink, 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 clink. He'd stir it up, and he's sitting there listening to the radio, which I totally get. I got that same habit from him, because I love listening to the radio every morning. First thing I do is I walk into the kitchen, I turn my radio on. It sits right next to where I sit. Same thing. It's like, I learned it from my grandfather. And turn the radio on. He would sit there and stir up his instant coffee and maybe roll up the day cigarettes that he wanted. Because he knew how many he was going to smoke that day, so he'd make that number. He'd get done dissolving his Folgers, and he put another teaspoon of sugar in there and stir that up and sit there and look out at the lake, because we lived on a Lake Edward up by Brainerd, Minnesota. And he'd sit there and go, looks like a good day to go fishing. Yeah, I think so. You want to go fishing? Duh. Yes. Any day would go out on the lake with a good day, in my opinion. So he would, all right, yes, let's go. After he finished his coffee and everything, and sometimes he'd do his morning shave and sitting there watching, talking with him about where we're going to go fishing that day while he shaves. And then go into the garage, and he didn't walk down to the lake. He had his old Sears lawnmower. he'd load it with a trailer up, whatever he needed, his bait or whatever. Because he always liked, first thing he always do is go fishing for northerns and walleyes, and then towards later in the day, he'd find a spot where he didn't want to troll anymore. And he would set up and we'd go pan fishing. Get some panfish too. And we were always, you know, catching northern walleyes and panfish. So I'd always have a spot because he loved panfish too. Nothing like a walleye fillet that's just been cooked up, fried up, really nice and delicious. But so we take tractor down, go down to the boathouse, load up all the fishing poles and everything into the boat, and he had his own dock and everything, and take the boat out, and we'd go. We had he knew that lake by the back, like the back of his hand, and first thing we do is hit this ridge bar that was about 10 to 20 feet down. It was like you'd have 30, 40 feet of water, and it was a bar. So you just go kind of an arc right through there. You know, because, you know, stuff was gouged out by glaciers, you know, 15, 20,000 years ago on its way down to here in Des Moines. And you go along that little bar and pick up a northern or two or a walleye, and then move on to the next area. And usually it just go along it, go up and down it about 3 or 4 times, and then move on to the next place. And then we had this one spot which was kind of interesting. It was right almost in, it was on the east side of the lake. It was like a ball. And it was like around it was like 30, 40 feet of water. But in this one spot, you could get some big panfish. You're talking big old sunfish. Caught almost wrecked. It was like an ounce off of the Minnesota record I caught. This panfish. It was like huge. We weighed it and it's like, oh, you almost beat the record. You know, because we went over to the bait and tackle place, and you had it weighed in. And he's like, yo, son, you almost got it. And you almost broke the record. It was huge. But you get a lot of them like that, just big ones. And basically it was like 10, 15 feet of water, but it was deep around it. So you had all these kind of congregation of fish would be in there. Could almost probably go right back to it today. But yeah, it was good memories. Get done, come back. Sometimes we'd stay out into the evening, especially if it was summertime. You know, we didn't have to be anywhere because, you know, kids are off for the summer. And we'd go bullhead, catch some bullheads. And my grandfather always kept he'd buy a steak, or a roast, I mean, and he would freeze it up, and he'd just take a small package of it, and this meat, and cut up the little cubes, and we'd go out, and by the time we decided to go bullhead fishing, it was pretty much thawed out, but he'd put it on a hook and drop her down. And people around here, it's like bullheads. They're little bitty things. It's like, why the hell would you want to catch those smalls? Like up there, they're big. They're like catfish up there. Big suckers. You'd be hauling them in hand over fist. But when we'd go down and spend a week or two, and when the freezer got full, completely full because we had an outside freezer, when we got that thing full of fish, it was like, well, looks like it's time for you guys to go home. It's like Mom and Dad would come down, pick us up, and on the weekend, and like, oh, do we have to go back? Yes, you have to go back. We're having so much good time fishing with Grandpa. But we ate a lot of fish. That and rabbit. And we raised rabbits. And one thing about rabbits, they breed quickly. I'm liking a good fried rabbit. Fry them up, make some gravy, put it over rice. One of my favorite dishes as a kid. My mom would always, she did fish in 2 different ways. Like the northern, she would always, we'd fillet that, they'd always be filleted up, so she would always like boil them and make a butter curry with some salt in it. And the butter is what we made ourselves. Had a ready supply of dairy, you know, being on the farm. We had our own separator, so we'd separate the cream out into heavy cream and then turn our own butter up. So we had plenty of supply of that. But when it comes to cooking, Mom had 3 spices in her cupboard: salt, pepper, and curry. That was it. It's like, so you're gonna tell. I was like, I remember when we would, it's like you go to eat school lunch and they had pizza day. Man, the pizza was good because it had flavor. Like, and my dad, his only thing he ever liked was salt and pepper. That was it. Wasn't a big fan of the curry either. But pretty bland when it comes to flavor. One thing I learned from my grandmother was spices make things nicest. Man. There we go. I think we're done. Almost done. There went my skin tag there. There, we got it now. Oh, okay. Well, there is a little bit of cooling. Not much. Not enough really to write home about. Now, some individuals that don't really like a lot of menthol, this is probably right up their alley. Me, I like menthol to go right in the face. It's like, hello, I'm here. This is subtle. Yeah. It smells nice. All right, we got Masters Bay Rum. This is a Bay Rum that smells, almost has a pepper aspect to it. Kind of a smoky pepper. It's the best I can describe. But yeah, Masters Bay Rum. All right, so that was brought to you by Chuck Shaving Channel. That was Master Soap Creations Frosted Bay Rum. Almost might be worth getting a tub of that sometime in the future, probably from the Razor Company. And then we used the first use of the Schick. These are stainless steels from Germany with the Merkur 34C. A little bit of Germanic stuff. Yeah, there we go. All right, so there you go. Hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Rusty out.